yeah, it's you know, people, we do bike tours of this thing, and people are just extremely interested in this thing.
Exactly.
You
So
know?
yeah, I know Oak Park's really taking advantage of this and doing a bike tour and a senior bus tour
Yeah.
and a selfie contest, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the things that we've committed to here is making sure that our sense of place, public amenities, quality of life improvements all across the board are being done, because what we've realized is that our inner ring suburb was built really utilitarianism minded in the sense that the automobile came first. And what we've now realized is that that might have been a mistake. And so walkability and these kinds of public amenities and these things, albeit small, and this really falls in line with our Sunflower Project as well, those are the little things that build a sense of place in a community like this that will sustain it forever. So we're very excited about this. We're very privileged and honored to have this.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're thrilled to be in Oak Park and, you know, having the reproductions at a lot of different places. People can walk around, bike around, and check them out and be reminded of the DIA, which is, of course, free for residents of Oak Park of all the 3 counties. And so that's wonderful. And it's such a nice surprise to encounter these things when you're going into City Hall or something, and then there's a beautiful work of art.
No doubt about it. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Meeting with the Manager. I'm City Manager Erik Tungate. On today's show, I will be welcoming in Jennifer Czajkowski, who's the Vice President of Learning and Audience Engagement at the Detroit Institute of Arts. And as always, I will be welcoming in our Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. I'd now like to take this opportunity to welcome my guest, Jennifer Czajkowski from the DIA. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Now, tell us about your title and what you do at the DIA.
Sure. So I'm the Vice President for Learning and Audience Engagement. I'm on the executive team at the museum and responsible mainly for the museum programming, whether that's in the museum or out in the community, and also work on interpretation, so helping with exhibition development and what we do in the permanent galleries.
That's so exciting, and one of the things that most of our residents, I think most of our residents have become aware of at this point, is that we have our second installment of the DIA's Inside Out program, and these are paintings that are lodged throughout the community in various locations. Can you speak about this program a little bit?
So what makes Inside Out such a wonderful and unique program is that the DIA has these reproductions. Cities apply to have them in their community, and then we work with those communities to decide which kinds of art they want to have in their community, where they should be placed, and then what kind of programming they want to do. So it's very much customized to each community based on what their needs are and their interests are. So that's pretty, it's not like the DI is just coming and putting this in the community. It's a really collaborative effort.
And I also know that this summer we have what's called the DIA Away Bus program coming. So I was hoping you'd talk about that a little bit.
Sure. This is another very unusual thing for an art museum. It's actually much bigger than a bus. It is a full semi-trailer with the sides that bump out. And it's a space where people can come on for free and have a little bit of the DIA at your event. We have reproductions of works of art and some digital technology and engagements so that visitors can explore these works of art. The theme of the truck is think like an artist. And so we very cleverly demonstrate how artists, some of the strategies artists use in being creative, and then we invite on the other side of the truck visitors to engage in some of those activities and ways of thinking. So you get to practice thinking like an artist, and it's pretty engaging for all ages, and there's information about the DIA on the truck as well.
And now for us, the Way Bus will be coming here on Sunday, June 16th, which is the time when we're having our Summer Blast Festival, right here in the municipal complex area.
Yeah, that should be great. It's a big thing, you can't miss it.
Absolutely. Sounds like it. Actually sounds cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
So tell me, I know, the DIA with the millage and everything else, our residents have greater access to it, but tell me more about that.
Sure. So the millage, which was passed in 2012, means that all residents of Oak Park, including everybody in Oakland County, Wayne, and Macomb, get free general admission to the DIA. So anytime they want to come in, there's no charge. They show their ID, they're in the museum. Also, they get discounts for special exhibitions, which are ticketed, and completely free field trips for students in those 3 counties. So that includes bus transportation, which is pretty unusual.
Absolutely. And then once they get there, of course, they can use the train to go downtown and go to lunch and whatever it may be.
Right. The queue line's been great.
Yeah, really. And what a nice addition to the Midtown District. One of the things I wanted you to talk about, if possible, was the way that the DIA is exhibiting the art. Because I noticed for people like me who don't really have an art background, when I go down there with my family, I can understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Sure. We're very proud of the way that we install the art and the way we talk about the art in our labels, in our audio tours. One of the things that the DIA does is we consider ourselves a very visitor-centered museum. So often we work with members of the community to help us develop and to design our exhibitions, our label copy. So they give us input as we're designing these things, and that helps us make sure that when we put something on the wall or in a case, along with some explanatory text, that it's going to make sense to people and be relevant and interesting.
Yeah, and it definitely does that. Now, tell me more about your background, because someone who arrives in a role like the one you have, to me is very interesting, especially being here in government. Tell me more about how you got here.
Sure. So I'm a lifetime Detroiter, been in this area. I studied art history at the University of Michigan, actually. Worked in a few art galleries, got my master's degree in liberal studies, focusing on the role of museums in community. And I worked for a time at the Henry Ford Museum, but most of my career has been at the DIA. So I have been there for 20 years and was involved in the big reinstallation back in 2007. And a lot of what I've learned from other museums. I've learned from talking to residents. I've learned from talking to our visitors about how to help make the museum a more engaging place.
Yeah, I just will say on a personal level, it's been amazingly successful.
Yeah.
I go there all the time and I love it. And one of the things, especially because of, as we mentioned, Midtown and the train district and so forth, one of the things that I'm always fascinated with is the role that the DIA plays in the neighborhood itself, and the very structure that the art exists in the neighborhood. And I know you guys have some ideas for some new upcoming things, and I was hoping you could speak about some of that.
Sure. Yes, we're in a fantastic location right on Woodward in Midtown where so much has been going on. We have received some wonderful grants and some funding to work on a rethinking of we call it the Plaza Project, the grounds of the DIA. So we have a fair amount of green space in Midtown. And then, of course, a lot of your viewers will know that there are other museums right near us, the Michigan Science Center, the Charles Wright Museum of African American History, the Detroit Historical Society. And so thinking about that area, and CCS is right there as well, the College for Creative Studies, how can we make that a more engaging space for people to gather? It's really part of our director, Salvador Solort Pons. It's his vision to have the museum be like a town square. So we actually have an international competition going right now where we have submissions from, I believe it's 44 design firms around the world who want to be a part of this. So we are the team, the cross-institutional team, including some people from outside of the country, are looking at the proposals and are slowly narrowing that down over the summer so we can choose a firm to work with. It's very exciting.
Wow, that is so exciting. And it's really, sort of tickles me to know that, having a little bit of green space now in Midtown is so premium, because it really speaks volumes to the city's rematuration and where the city of Detroit is going, especially in these neighborhoods. Now, going back to the Inside Out program, how many communities share that distinction in each of these rounds?
This year we have 7 other communities besides Oak Park. So that's about, it varies each year, but that's where we are this year. And then there are some that we do actually outstate. We do some up in Mackinac City and Mackinac.
Yeah, I've actually seen some of this stuff in other areas of the state, replications of things, obviously. But now, you do a lot with seniors.
Yes.
And you mentioned the shuttle buses that take seniors from communities like ours down to the DIA and back. And then how long has that program been going on? And if I were looking to do this, how would I find information?
So we're definitely, we've been doing senior programs for several years, but we're in the second year of what we call Thursdays at the DIA. We want seniors to think about Thursdays as their day at the DIA. And so any senior group, we will send, you can call our group reservations department, which is the phone number is available on our website, dia.org. You can book a bus to come and pick up a group of seniors. And then each Thursday of each month, there's a different activity. So it so happens that today, we're on a Thursday, we are showing a film, we're showing Casablanca. And so in our beautiful Detroit Film Theater.
Yeah.
So the previous week was one of our curators giving a talk about parts of the collection. Another Thursday might be going into our art studio and making art, doing an art project. And then sometimes we have guided tours. So, you know, senior groups can pick which activity they want, and then we'll send a bus at no charge. And then what's always very popular is at the end of the engagement, we have coffee and cookie reception, which is very popular.
Absolutely. So, okay, so I'm thinking about going to the DIA. So give me, you know, what are in your opinion, what are the top 3 things that I would be going to the DIA for?
Oh, that's hard because there's so many different things. I'm always a big fan of telling people to come on a Friday night. We're open till 10 o'clock and we have free music, and you can go into Kresge Court and have a little bit something to eat or a drink. And our drop-in studio's open and we have tours, so it's a different atmosphere. It's very lively and fun. Another big thing I have to talk about is that next weekend we're opening our big exhibition, Star Wars and the Power of Costume. And residents of Oak Park can get a discount on those tickets. Information's on the website, dia.org. But this is an amazing exhibition that people have not seen before at the DIA. It's all about how costume and the creativity that goes into designing costumes helps to carry the narrative of a film. So,
and these are the original costumes, I understand, right?
Yeah, these are the original costumes of all the big characters, Darth Vader, Queen Amidala, Luke Skywalker, Yoda.
So cool.
Yeah, they're all going to be there. And there's a lot of information about the creative process and how the costume designers worked, and a lot of their original sketches for how they originally conceived of the characters, and then you can see how they actually evolved into the actual costumes.
You know, it's one of the things that you and I had talked about earlier was really the role of art in our society, and the role of, you know, the built environment and you know, community improvements like the ones we're making here in the city of Oak Park. And it really is amazing to me, and I want to get your opinion on this. Yeah, art plays a role while you're in the institute itself, but it also plays a much larger role in our society in terms of the way humans interact with each other. Right. And, you know, we see that in government because we're in charge of the public spaces. And in my view, the more amenable those public spaces are, the better your city is doing.
Yeah.
So tell me about the role you see art playing in the things like what we're doing here.
Right. So it's really important for us at the DIA to have wonderful galleries, but also to have a presence in communities and to help communities like Oak Park to support their efforts in their public spaces and to bring art to those spaces. As someone who's been engaged with art for my entire career, you know, I have seen how art can bring people together for conversation, for enjoyment. And one of the most important things, and we know this from research, is that people want to connect to the long line of human creativity. And so being around art and being around the creativity that others have experimented with and built is a really rewarding experience and encourages other people to be creative and to just enjoy their community.
I might have to steal some of those lines from you. Those are fantastic.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I would absolutely concur. It's one of the reasons I think people get so engaged with our Sunflower Project is one example of public spaces where we're trying to optimize that space, and all we're doing is planting flowers, but it really has made such an impact on the way that people feel about our city, and art has that, especially with these installations throughout our community, really has that same effect. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, it's uplifting, pride in the community, and yeah, it's a place where people want to be and they want to see these things, and just on their in the course of their everyday life.
I want to thank you so much for being my guest on the show. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Oh, well, thank you for having us. We're really pleased to be here in Oak Park.
Thank you. It's a painting, and so what is the value to that? Well, the value is immeasurable. I mean, it's the impact. How are you?
Hi.
It's just remarkable, the impact. Good lesson.
Right. Right, something that brings people together and gives them something to talk about or do a program around or share.
Speaks volumes to the humanity of our lives, and that is what is the most important thing.
Exactly.
As always, I'd now like to take this opportunity to welcome in our Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me on again.
As always. So let's get right into it. There's been so many changes in our public safety department, and really unconventional things are going on, great unconventional things. The largest of those, in my opinion, is that we've added another community resource officer. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I'm just as excited as you are about the addition of a community resource officer. Currently, we have Devin Benson, who serves as our single community resource officer, but we've added Officer Robert Koch. He was formerly a detective in our investigations bureau, and actually was your employee of the year this past year. He does an outstanding job. We went through an interview process, and he was stood head and shoulders above a lot of the candidates. We had a lot of very good candidates, but in my opinion, he stood head and shoulders above most of those candidates. One of the real needs that we saw for the addition of a community resource officer was the fact that, Oak Park, we have 3 different school districts. We have the Oak Park School District, the Berkeley School District, and we have Ferndale schools, as well as our Jewish schools. We have a lot of pre-K schools, and then we also have Montessori schools. And to be able to get into those schools and actually have the impact and interact with those young kids, especially elementary, middle school kids in those very formative years, is critical. And to be able to add that additional officer to help facilitate this, we are expecting to see dividends paid 100-fold. Like I said, I'm extremely excited about that. Not only for our elementary and middle school kids, but also the community in general. We have several block clubs that Officer Benson, as the single community resource officer, is responsible for, as well as doing a lot of different mediation with some families and residents in our city. And the list goes on and on and on. And I won't sit here and bore you with all of the details, but the addition of a second community resource officer, the community will really feel the impact, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, and I say the word unconventional. It's really innovative, and it's as usual. Under your leadership, the department is innovating and leading the charge, and a lot of other cities and other departments are following your lead of what we're doing here. And you mentioned the schools, and I was curious if you could give us an update about how Mase, our new canine, is being perceived in the schools when he's there.
Absolutely. Mase, like I said, Mase has been with us almost a year now. So like I said, he's fully trained, he's fully operational. Officer Mike Tchaikovsky is the canine handler. Sergeant Joe Meyer oversees the program. And Mase is being integrated into our schools. We have, for the month of May, each week we will have Mase interacting at one of our various elementary schools. So he'll be doing demonstrations. The kids will be able to come up and actually, pat and play with them. But we want to be able to introduce him and give, the administration as well as the kids an idea of, what Mase does on a day in and day out basis. And that is just going to be great. The the kids have heard that he's coming. They're very excited, as well as I am. So like I said, I'll be kind of shadowing Mase through a few of those schools just to enjoy some of the interaction he'll be having with the elementary school kids.
And he's a morale booster too, just like a lot of the other things. And one of the other things I was hoping you could talk about, especially now that we're seeing the warmer weather here, is our ice cream truck project.
Oh yes, yes, yes. The ice cream truck. This is our second year that we'll be rolling out the ice cream truck. We're anticipating probably right at the end of the school year. So you're looking at maybe the end of this month, the first part of June. We have some activities planned at the various schools in Oak Park where we'll be interacting with different students and handing out ice cream treats. And then throughout the summer, as we did last year, the ice cream truck will be in full effect. You'll probably see Officer Benson and Officer Koch tooling around at various times. Now last year, a lot of our residents were concerned because they said, hey, we were looking for the ice cream truck. You guys came out earlier. We didn't get home until 5. So we're going to try and mix up that schedule a little bit and kind of get the evening hours, hit some of the evening hours where kids are home, parents are home, and maybe they've just had dinner and would like a nice ice cream to kind of go with dinner. So we we got it all shined up. It's ready to go. We're ready to stock it and get going. I'd be remiss if I didn't just send out another thank you to Prairie Farms, who have generously donated 300 units of ice cream per week for this cause.
That's fantastic.
And like I said, the relationships that you form and just the interaction and the conversations that you have with not only the youth but also the adults. Anyone who wants an ice cream gets an ice cream, by the way. We don't just limit it to our kids. Some of the parents and our seniors like the ice cream more so than the kids, but we're happy to be able to roll out our second year with the ice cream truck, and I look forward to big things. And you'll see me on that truck again this year because I enjoy the interaction as well.
That's great to hear. Now, also with the warmer weather, we have more bicyclists out. And so I was hoping that you could provide some tips for bicyclists. I think a lot of people don't realize that they're required to follow many of the same traffic laws as a vehicle would. But could you elaborate on a little bit of that for
Right.
us?
You're exactly right. The bicyclists are required to follow the same traffic laws as our motor vehicles do. So that means stopping at stop signs. When you're crossing, not just crossing in the middle of the street, you have to use kind of crosswalks like pedestrians, yield signs, red lights, all of that stuff they have to obey. One of the things that we're asking too, as far as parents for some of the younger kids who may be new bicyclists, to sit down. We're asking the parents to sit down with them and explain the importance of being safe and not just darting out in the street and following some of the same rules that they would follow when they walk back and forth to school. The bicyclists are kind of like motorcyclists. When you're out, oftentimes you're not easily visible to vehicular traffic. So we want them to, number one, have all of the safety gear on. We want the helmets on. If you're riding in the evening hours, have the proper reflective, stickers and decals on the bikes. And like I said, just be safe. We want you to have fun. It's warm out. People have been kind of confined to the house for a decent portion of the winter and maybe doing some winter activities. So now, just want them to really be careful and cautious. And we ask that our motorists and our vehicular traffic out there, pay extra special attention and look for our bicyclists on the roadways.
Yeah, and speaking of extra special attention, another program that we've rolled out fairly recently is our traffic enforcement detail program. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about this in the sense that one of the things I know you hear a lot about, I do as well, it's just that residents are constantly questioning our role in the neighborhoods, and why isn't there a car on my street all the time? And so this program is designed to put more public safety vehicles in the neighborhoods. And I was hoping you could talk about that briefly.
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Like I said, I just want to take a minute. Thanks to you for, like you said, obviously having a vision and a foresight and employing us to actually go out and be able to have the traffic enforcement detail. But like you said, that is probably the number one complaint that you'll receive in any community throughout the metropolitan area is, speeding motorists or reckless drivers.
Hot riding in the neighborhood. Or whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get that request 24/7. Hey, my street, they're flying up and down here all times of day and night. We would love to be on every street in every corner of the city, but obviously that's just not possible. So we kind of randomly pick and choose the areas that we frequent. And like I said, the idea is not to have to issue a bunch of violations. We would rather have voluntary compliance, but unfortunately, sometimes people learn better the hard way, and it's a safety issue. I'd rather much have a civil infraction and have to pay a few bucks than, God forbid, injure a pedestrian or somebody on a bicycle. So, like I said, we're out there. The first year was very successful. We're very aggressively pursuing, our motorists who are, not obeying and taking heed to the traffic motor vehicle code. But we want, like I said, our main goal is to have a safe, not only a safe summer, but especially a safe summer. We want everyone to be able to enjoy, and we want to avoid any type of tragedy that could possibly happen. So
I think the big thing is to tell folks to slow down, especially in the neighborhoods, but in general. And one of the things that, there's so many things that I find amazing about the initiatives that you're conducting in the department. But one of the other ones that I was hoping you could spend a couple minutes talking about would be the Citizens Academy. And this is a way for everyday people, residents of the city of Oak Park, to participate in a day in the life of an officer. And so I was hoping you'd talk a little bit more about it.
Absolutely. This is our third year for running our Citizens Academy. And this one is a little different because we chose the month of May. We're doing every Wednesday in May, and there's actually 5 weeks in May. So we extended the Citizens Academy 5 weeks, and we've added Mase. Mase is, like I said, our K9, and he will be making an appearance as well. One of the things that we kind of tweaked a little bit was I believe it was this past Wednesday, where we had our evidence tech demonstration, and then we took a real live, an actual homicide case that we had here in the city of Oak Park several years ago, and kind of went through that case by case and gave our residents an actual opportunity to be detectives and kind of go through and look at the evidence and see what we saw and kind of actually walk them, step by step through that case. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you see a lot of the stuff on CSI, and a lot of the TV shows are becoming, more reality-based, and residents want to get in there and they want to know, what are the tricks and what are you looking for, and what better way to give them that opportunity than to, actually bring out a case that you've actually worked and kind of show them some of the pitfalls or challenges that you faced or some of the things that you noticed along the way. Sure. So they really enjoyed that. We plan to hopefully continue that as well. And like I said, they are probably about midway through the academy right now. And they're just really enjoying themselves. And I will be stopping back in and enjoying some of that Citizens Academy as well. So like I said, we're excited about it. It's our third year. We hope to continue this for many, many more years to come. And like I said, I tell all of our residents on the first day when I come in and do the introduction, I love our residents. We have the best residents
Definitely.
Anywhere, and they could choose to be a number of different places on a Wednesday evening from 6 to 9, but they take the time and they chose to spend that with our department and kind of learn a little bit more about what we do, and the relationships that we've built and that we continue to build are second to none. And like I said, I'll say it again, I love our residents, and we have a great community, and we want to keep it that way and find ways to continue to build.
Well, I really appreciate your time, and as always, thank you for being a guest on the show. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir.
I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Meeting with the Manager. I look forward to seeing you again next time.